Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, settle in for a moment. I want you to stop what you are doing. What I am about to share with you could change how your skin looks for years. Here is something most dermatologists will never say out loud. The dark spots on your face, the brown patches on your hands, the marks many people call age spots, are not simply the price of growing older. They are, in many cases, the price of not knowing about one ingredient that has been sitting in your own kitchen. I am Dr. Alan Mandell. I have spent my career helping older adults rebuild their bodies, their confidence, and their memory. I do it without fear, without gimmicks, and without pretending anything is simpler than it is. That is who I am. That is why we are talking today. When researchers look at thousands of older adults over time, one finding keeps coming back. The thing that bothers people most about their appearance, more than wrinkles, more than sagging, is uneven dark spots on the skin. That is not a small concern. Those spots quietly change how a person feels about leaving the house. That is not vanity. That is dignity. And for many older adults, that dignity has been quietly slipping away, one morning at a time. Now here is the important part. When researchers look at what actually fades those spots, the honest answer, more often than not, was not the expensive jar on the counter. It was the kitchen. It was ingredients your grandmother probably used without calling them medicine. Today, we are going to call them medicine. Coming up, I am going to walk you through 6 kitchen ingredients ranked from helpful to truly transformational. The number one item on this list is something most of you probably have in your refrigerator right now. I am going to save that one for last. You came to this video for it. Before we begin, leave me a comment below. Tell me how old you are and how long your spots have been there. I read every single comment on this channel. Your story matters to me. I want to hear it. And that brings us to number 6 on the list. Cucumber slices. The kind your grandmother may have placed over her eyes on a Sunday afternoon. I know. You have probably tried this once and dismissed it as an old wives' tale. That is fair. But the chemistry behind cucumber for older skin is more interesting than most people admit. Specifically, cucumber contains an antioxidant called caffeic acid. Caffeic acid has been studied in dermatology research for its ability to calm inflamed skin cells. A 2017 review of plant-derived antioxidants, summarized in the dermatology literature, noted that caffeic acid shows measurable skin-calming activity. What that means in plain English, cucumber does not bleach anything. It just gives your skin a quieter place to start evening out. But here is what cucumber also does that almost nobody talks about. As you age, your skin loses water more easily. The protective barrier on top of your skin thins. Cool cucumber slices held against your skin slowly release moisture into those upper layers. For older adults, that moisture is not a luxury. It supports your skin's natural repair cycle. You see, the science of pigmentation is simpler than most doctors make it sound. Your skin contains cells called melanocytes. They produce the pigment melanin. Over decades of sun exposure, those cells leave clusters of pigment in the top layer of your skin. The fancy word for that is hyperpigmentation. In plain English, it means pockets of color your skin made years ago to protect you from the sun. In many cases, those pockets fully deserve to fade. The skin underneath has finished its job. The spots are just lingering. Now, most older adults I meet have one of two reactions. They think cucumber is theater, or they think cucumber is too gentle to matter. Both reactions miss the point. Think of it like this. Imagine your face is a wall with dust on it. If the wall is bone dry, the dust stands out sharply. If you wipe gently, the dust blends into the wall and disappears from view. Cucumber is the gentle wipe. It does not chase the spots away. It softens the landscape so the spots no longer feel so loud on your skin. That is why we begin with cucumber, not because it is the strongest ingredient, because it is the kindest first step. And kindness for skin that has been through 70 or 80 years of life is not weakness. Kindness is respect. A typical pattern I see in my practice is a 73-year-old retired teacher from a small town in Tennessee. She came in concerned about the brown patches across her cheeks. I asked her what she was doing for her skin at home. She said nothing. We started simple. Cool cucumber slices, twice a day, 10 quiet minutes each, pressed gently over the dark spots. Within a few weeks, she told me her skin looked calmer and more even. Not because the cucumber cured anything, because her skin finally had moisture and a chance to settle. Now here is the important part. How to do this right. Slice one fresh cucumber very thin. Keep it cold in the refrigerator. Lay 2 slices over each spot, or 1 slice over your whole cheek if the patch is wide. Press gently with your fingers. Leave the slices on for 10 full minutes. Then lift them off and pat your skin dry. Do not rub. Twice a day, morning and evening. Please, 2 cautions. Do not apply cucumber and then walk out into bright sunlight. The cool moisture plus UV can stress older skin. Always rinse and moisturize afterward with a gentle fragrance-free cream. That is number 6, a simple first step you can take today. But do not stop here, because coming up at number 5 is something most people think of only as a sweet treat. It turns out honey has been quietly working for your skin all along. And that brings us to number 5, raw honey. The kind many of you may already keep in your pantry for tea. I know. Sugar. On my face. That sounds backward, but here is what the research actually shows. Specifically, raw honey contains small amounts of hydrogen peroxide produced by enzymes that are still alive in unheated honey. What that means in plain English, raw honey gently cleans the surface of your skin without harsh chemicals. Now researchers have studied medical-grade honey for skin healing in published clinical work for years. Honey helps support the skin barrier. Honey helps skin renew itself more calmly. Many of those studies were summarized in dermatology and wound healing journals over the last 2 decades. But here is what raw honey also does that almost nobody talks about. Raw honey is also a humectant. That means it pulls water from the air into the surface of your skin. For older adults whose skin is thirsty, that is a quiet gift. And honey is mildly anti-inflammatory. It calms the redness that often surrounds dark spots and makes them look angrier than they really are. You see, when a dark spot sits on inflamed skin, the spot looks darker. Worse than it is. Worse than it should be. Honey calms that inflammation. Slowly, gently, the spot begins to look like part of your skin again, instead of a foreign mark on top of it. A typical pattern I see in my practice is a 71-year-old woman from a small town in Ohio. She came in with rough, dry hands and a few dark patches between her thumb and forefinger. I asked her to try one thing, a thin layer of raw, unheated honey 3 nights a week for 15 minutes each time. She used the honey her husband kept on the farm. Within 8 weeks, her hands were smoother, the rough patches were quieter, and the dark spots had faded into the surrounding skin. She told me she could finally grip her gardening tools without wincing. That is what calm honey does over time. Now here is the dosage, exactly, raw honey, unheated, unfiltered. Manuka honey works well if you can find it, but any raw, plain honey will do. Apply a thin layer with clean fingers. Leave it on for 15 minutes. Rinse with warm, not hot, water. Pat dry. Follow with a fragrance-free moisturizer. Please, 2 warnings, important ones. Do not microwave honey to soften it. Heat destroys the live enzymes you are counting on. 2. If you have a known allergy to bee stings, please skip this one. Even a tiny bit of honey on broken skin can cause a reaction. Be safe. That is number 5. Gentle, sweet, and surprisingly powerful for skin that needs to settle down. But wait, because coming up at number 4 is a fruit you may have overlooked your entire life, and it costs pennies. And that brings us to number 4, papaya, The orange fruit your grandmother may have put on the breakfast table without telling you it was a skin treatment. I know. Fruit enzymes sound fancy. They sound almost too scientific for a kitchen. But here is the simple truth. Papaya contains an enzyme called papain. Papain gently dissolves the dead, damaged, pigmented cells sitting on the top layer of your skin. What that means in plain English, papaya helps lift off the very spots you have been trying to fade. Think of your skin like a stack of thin pages. The darkest spots are smudges on the top page. Papain is the gentle eraser that lifts those smudges without tearing the page below. Now, researchers have studied papain as a topical ingredient in cosmetic science for years. It is known to support gentle exfoliation without the harsh sting of stronger acids. For older adults whose skin has thinned over time, gentleness is everything. But here is what papaya also does that almost nobody talks about. Papaya pulp is rich in vitamins A and C. Vitamin A supports your skin's natural renewal cycle. Vitamin C, applied to the skin, has been studied for its depigmenting properties in dermatology research. A 2023 review in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology summarized work showing topical vitamin C helps even skin tone over months of consistent use. That is why papaya quietly does two jobs at once. It lifts the old cells, and while it lifts them, it feeds the new ones underneath. A typical pattern I see in my practice is a 68-year-old retired rancher from a small town in Idaho. He had spent 40 years in the sun. His hands and forearms were scattered with brown spots. He did not want to see a dermatologist. He wanted something simple. We started with mashed ripe papaya, applied like a soft paste, 3 times a week for 10 minutes. Within 10 weeks, his wife sent me a photograph of his hands at a family dinner. The spots were softer. The hands looked younger. He still did not want to see a dermatologist, but he kept using the papaya. Now here is the dosage: 1 ripe papaya. You can tell it is ripe if it gives gently when you press it. Mash a small wedge into a smooth paste with a fork. Apply a thin layer to the spotted areas. Leave it on for 10 minutes. Rinse with cool water. Pat dry. Follow with a gentle moisturizer. Please, 2 cautions. 1. Do not use unripe papaya on your skin. Unripe papaya is much harsher and can burn. 2. If your skin burns or stings, rinse immediately with cool water and stop. That is number 4. A fruit you probably already buy at the store, working harder for your skin than you knew. But coming up at number 3 is one my audience asks me about more than any ingredient on this list. And the answer might surprise you. If this information has already opened your eyes to something you did not know, hit the like button right now. Subscribe right now. Every week I bring you practical health information designed for adults who want to live stronger, longer, and on their own terms. And that brings us to number 3, green tea. Not the cup you drink, the bag you press against your face. I know, many of you already drink green tea. You think that means your skin is already getting the benefit. It is not. When you swallow green tea, your liver processes most of the active compounds before they reach your skin. Topical green tea is a completely different story. Specifically, green tea contains a group of antioxidants called catechins. The most studied catechin is EGCG. Researchers have investigated EGCG in dermatology for its ability to calm sun-triggered pigmentation and support an even skin tone. A 2023 review of plant polyphenols published in the journal Antioxidants summarized evidence that topical green tea extracts support an even complexion. Other reviews in the photoprotection literature have pointed to similar findings. What that means in plain English: green tea, when applied to your skin, helps quiet the kind of pigment formation that creates dark spots after years of sun exposure. Think of it like this. Your dark spots are kind of like small campfires on your skin. Each was lit by a sun-drenched afternoon decades ago. Green tea does not pour water on the fire. It slowly smothers the embers, so the fire has nothing to feed on. But here is what green tea also does that almost nobody talks about. Green tea is strongly anti-inflammatory. Older skin tends to look older, partly because of low-level chronic inflammation. Green tea calms that inflammation. When the inflammation calms, the spots above it lose their harshness. The skin beneath them looks healthier, and the spots blend in better. A typical pattern I see in my practice is a 70-year-old retired librarian from a small town in Arizona. She had moved to Arizona in her 50s and spent years gardening in bright sun. Her forearms were covered in small brown spots. I asked her to try 2 cooled green tea bags on each forearm, twice a day, for 15 minutes each time. She liked the ritual. It reminded her of her grandmother's afternoon tea. Within 12 weeks, her forearms looked noticeably calmer. The spots had not vanished, but they looked softer, less angry, much less obvious in short sleeves. Now here is the dosage. 2 green tea bags. Brew them in hot water for 3 minutes. Lift them out. Let them cool to room temperature. Squeeze out excess water. Apply the bags directly to the spots. Hold for 15 minutes, twice a day. You can also brew a small cup of strong green tea, let it cool, and dab it onto your spots with a cotton ball. Both methods work. Please, 2 cautions. Do not use boiling hot tea bags on your skin. Let them cool. Burned skin is not the look we are going for. And do not use sweetened or flavored green tea products. Plain tea bags only. That is number 3. Calm, inexpensive, and supported by decades of plant chemistry research. But hold on, because coming up at number 2 is something that has lived quietly on your spice rack for years. And it has more evidence on this list than almost any other ingredient. And that brings us to number 2, turmeric, the yellow powder in the small jar by your stove. I know. You probably bought turmeric for a curry recipe 3 years ago and never finished it. Now that jar is going to do something far more interesting for your skin. Specifically, turmeric contains a compound called curcumin. Curcumin has been studied in dermatology for its ability to slow melanin production at the skin cell level. A 2018 review of natural ingredients for hyperpigmentation, published in the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology, described turmeric's evidence for calming uneven skin tone. What that means in plain English. Turmeric may slow down the very process that put the dark spots on your face in the first place. But here is what turmeric also does that almost nobody talks about. Curcumin is one of the strongest natural anti-inflammatories researchers have ever studied. It calms the redness around dark spots. It reduces the oxidative stress that makes older skin look older than it should. So turmeric does 2 things at the same time. It slows the pigment formation, and it calms the inflammation that makes the spots stand out. Few kitchen ingredients do both. Now there is one caution I want to share, honestly. Turmeric stains. It stains cloth. It stains fingers. If you are not careful, it stains skin. The good news is that with the right preparation, staining is easy to control. A typical pattern I see in my practice is a 65-year-old woman from a small town in North Carolina. She came in worried about a large melasma patch across her upper lip. We combined 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder with a tablespoon of plain yogurt and a few drops of honey into a soft paste. She applied it to the patch 3 nights a week for 10 minutes. After 12 weeks, the patch had softened. The edges blended. The center was lighter. She told me she felt her face looked like her own again. That is what turmeric, used carefully, can do. Now here is the dosage. 1/4 teaspoon of pure turmeric powder, not a curry blend, pure. Mix it with 1 tablespoon of plain, full-fat yogurt into a smooth paste. Apply a thin layer to the spots only. Leave it on for 10 minutes. Rinse with cool water. Follow with a gentle moisturizer. 3 nights a week. Please, 3 cautions. 1. Do not leave turmeric paste on longer than 15 minutes. It can stain your skin temporarily, and temporarily is not the look you want. 2. Never use turmeric on broken or freshly shaved skin. 3. If your skin has a reaction, rinse right away, wait a few days, and try a smaller area first. That is number 2. Quiet, powerful, and backed by published research on curcumin and skin. Now we are almost at the most important ingredient on the list. Before we get there, I want to ask you something. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 ingredients are you going to try first? Tell me how your skin has been feeling. I read every comment. I want to know your story. And that brings us to the very first ingredient on today's list, the one I have been saving all video. The number 1 kitchen item that fades age spots faster than most $200 creams. It is buttermilk. Yes, buttermilk. The same buttermilk many of you keep in the refrigerator for biscuits or pancakes. It turns out the same folks who made buttermilk pancakes for breakfast were quietly making a skin treatment at the same time. Now many people hear the word buttermilk and immediately think of a farmhouse kitchen from 50 years ago. I'm here to tell you, with the full weight of dermatology research behind me, that buttermilk's reputation as a folk remedy has been hiding one of the gentlest, most effective skin renewal ingredients available to older adults. Specifically, buttermilk contains lactic acid. Lactic acid is one of the alpha-hydroxy acids, the family called AHAs, that dermatologists have used for decades. The 2018 review I mentioned earlier on natural ingredients for hyperpigmentation in the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology discussed the role of AHAs in evening skin tone. Lactic acid sits at the top of that family. What that means in plain English, lactic acid gently loosens the outer layer of skin where pigmented cells sit and lets them shed naturally. Think of it like this. Imagine your dark spots are fingerprints pressed into a piece of glass. Most exfoliators are like harsh cleaners. They scratch the glass and damage it. Lactic acid from buttermilk is like a soft polishing cloth. It lifts the fingerprints away without scratching what is underneath. Now, most older adults I meet are afraid of acids. They have heard stories about chemical peels gone wrong. They have seen redness and burning on someone else's face. I understand that fear, and it is fair. But here is the difference. The acids sold in expensive clinics are often at high concentrations. Buttermilk is at a low concentration, the slow, gentle, daily version. The kind your skin can tolerate over years, not days. But here is what buttermilk also does that almost nobody talks about. While it lifts old pigmented cells, it is also deeply moisturizing. Most exfoliators strip skin dry. Buttermilk lifts and moisturizes at the same time. That is rare. For older adults whose skin has been thin and dry for years, that combination is medicine. A typical pattern I see in my practice is a 72-year-old woman from a small town in Maine. She came in concerned about the dark patches covering the back of her hands. She had avoided short-sleeved blouses for 2 summers. I asked her a simple question. Will you please try one thing before you buy anything else? She bought a small carton of whole buttermilk from her local grocery store. Every evening before bed, she patted a thin layer onto the backs of her hands. She left it on for 15 minutes, then rinsed with cool water and applied a gentle, fragrance-free moisturizer. By the end of 8 weeks, she sent me a note. She told me she had worn a short-sleeved blouse to her granddaughter's graduation. She had not done that in 3 years. That is what buttermilk can do, slowly, kindly, for skin that has been waiting for the right ingredient. Now here is the dosage, exactly. Whole buttermilk, not low-fat, not flavored, plain, unsweetened. Apply a thin layer with clean fingers or a soft cloth. Leave it on for 15 minutes. Rinse with cool water. Pat dry. Follow with a gentle moisturizer. Do this every other day for the first 2 weeks, then daily if your skin agrees. Please, 2 important warnings. 1. Do not apply buttermilk and then walk into strong sunlight. The mild acidity can briefly make your skin more sun-sensitive. Apply in the evening or before bed. 2. If your skin reacts with redness or itching, Stop, wipe clean, wait a few days, and try a smaller area first. And one more thing. If you try buttermilk for 8 weeks and your spots have not improved, then yes, please see a dermatologist. Talk about stronger options. But first, give your kitchen a chance, because for many older adults, the ingredient that finally fades the spots is the one that has been quietly waiting in the refrigerator all along. So that is the list. 6 kitchen ingredients, ranked from gentle cucumber all the way up to the buttermilk that has changed more of my patients' hands than any cream I have ever prescribed. You came to this video for the number 1 entry. Now you have it, and it cost less than a cup of coffee. Now before I close, let me say something to you directly. Those spots on your face did not appear because you failed. They appeared because your skin worked hard for decades to protect you. They appeared because no one ever told you what to feed them. They appeared because the television tells you to spend $200 on a cream before it tells you to spend $2 on a kitchen item. Today, we change that. Today, you walk out of this video with a list, with recipes, with dosages, and with a way to look at your own face in the mirror without wincing. You were not built to become a passenger in your own life. You were not meant to hide your hands when you wave hello. That is not the destiny written into your biology. Today, we gave you the tools. Tomorrow, you decide if you use them. If this video helped you, share it with someone you love. Share it with your sister, your friend, the woman at the church door. Pass the wisdom forward. That is how we change the world one kitchen at a time. I will see you in the next one. God bless you and your skin.